Hey, this is Mike, and welcome back to the Happy Trekkers channel. Today, we are talking to Leslie and Patrick Richard, who travel the country in their van down by the river. No, not really down by the river, but they do travel the world or the country in their van. And I am very interested to find out why that happened and how they live as a couple in a small space. So welcome to the video. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So obvious question first is, why are you living in a van?
Well, I saw a video, I think it was in like late 2016, and there was this couple who were in their mid-30s, and they had been traveling the world for like 7 years. And I was like working my butt off going like, how in the hell does anybody do this? And really the answer for them was, they minimized their living expenses so that they could minimize how much income they had to that they had to earn, and it made a lot of sense to me. So that was kind of what kicked us off.
So that was, you said 2016, and you've been doing, and you started when? Let's put it that way.
Well, we started a little over a year ago, so there was a pretty big break between the idea generation. I think after I saw that video and got excited about it, it was about a 3-month process. Leslie and I talking to each other, and the two big things that were I think the things that we had to resolve were, what's this do to our like retirement plan?
Yeah,
because I'd be leaving a job that was, you know, making decent money and intentionally going to make a lot less. The second was just my career. I'd spent a lot of time and effort, getting to the point where I was in my career, and I'm at my age, I'm just hitting the point in time where it gets pretty lucrative.
Right.
So it was a little bit tough to basically see, what would be the next 10 years of salary, and just saying, I'm gonna just not go get that. I've done all this work to get there, and I'm just going to go, well, nope, I'll just leave it on the table. So that was, I think, the hard thing for me. What was the decision-wise for you?
We intentionally moved to Jacksonville, and I really liked the community, and I really liked, kind of found a little bit of a niche community with really nice people, and I like the ocean a lot, like the warm weather. Sure. And so I think it was more of a social thing for me that was harder to leave.
So Leslie, were you sold on this idea right away, or do you have to be talked into it, or what?
I had to be talked into it. We watched a lot of videos, and we talked about, what we really wanted out of life. And I think we were more focused on, seeing and doing rather than just working for things.
Right. Yeah. So you were working, Patrick, at a company, and you gave up that job?
Yeah, well, I actually am still working for that company on part-time basis now.
Okay.
But yeah, when we made the decision, I actually gave notice, and I gave him 2 months notice because I had plenty of time. But yeah, I was going to quit, and then we had. Part of the reason it was so long between when we made the decision and when we got started was because financial reasons. I wanted to leave with 2 years worth of living expenses to give myself 2 years to figure out how to make money on the road. So that it took some time to accumulate what would be 2 years worth of living expenses. And it is overall probably a bit less expensive than when we were living at home. So it didn't need like a full year's salary to, it's not living expenses. It's less than that. So, so that took some time. And then also we have been saving for retirement. And I needed to look at that because during these like peak earning years, you can really put a lot in a retirement account. But so I kind of looked out until, planned out till we're 95 years old and said, hey, with what we have, different scenarios, is this going to work? And we both were comfortable enough with the answer. So we decided to go for it.
Okay, so that's actually really good information. I mean, you can tell your engineering background come into play. You crunch the numbers, which is, it sounds romantic to just take that leap and just jump out into the wild blue yonder, but you didn't. You planned out the numbers properly, and you made your decision based on that. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think we could. I don't think I could have quit that job because I actually liked the job. It's actually the best job I've had in my life. So
wow.
I don't think I could have just quit the job unless I had a pretty high level of confidence that I wasn't doing, I wasn't shooting myself in the foot. So
right. Hey, I wanted to take a moment to let you know about our new book that just came out. It's a great travel journal. If you've been thinking about someplace you want to go, make sure you write it down in this journal. There's all kinds of spaces for places you want to visit, things you want to do. Those are the important kind of facts, and there's 101 different places to write that information down. I think you're going to love it as much as we do. It's available on Amazon right now. Thanks a lot. So you mentioned a little bit about it. So you said the living expenses, you're probably less than you were spending where you lived in Jacksonville. But the way you said it made me think it's not drastically less. This isn't a huge a reduction in spending for you. Is that right? Or am I misunderstanding what you meant?
I think, well, there's a couple ways I think you can do this lifestyle. The way that we're doing it, we are spending less money, but we had a fairly inexpensive house in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Our mortgage payment was pretty low.
Very low.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'd say our depending on how much we travel, but we're definitely spending more in gas. This vehicle uses more gas than the cars did.
Yeah.
So I kind of think of that as like our house payment.
Yeah,
So
well,
Especially since we got into California. It's like you cross the border and the gas prices.
it's through the roof.
the other thing that we spend a lot more on is internet service. So we've probably so I have to my work is now online. So I have to have a reliable signal. I have to attend meetings, and there's some tools I use that require an internet connection.
Okay.
So we have to have that. We started off with just our cell phones and it just wasn't working.
I can imagine.
The pandemic was in full swing.
Everything.
So you couldn't go to a coffee shop and get Wi-Fi or a library.
Libraries or all the places that van life people go to get internet, free internet. They're all closed.
Yes, I didn't think about that.
Wasn't just a problem for us. Everybody doing this lifestyle, I'm sure, had that trouble.
Stuck.
But it was important for us because I have to work. I mean, that's where my income comes from. So it's kind of the cost of doing business. So our internet cost went up 3x from what it used to be.
From home.
From cable modem bill is 3 times because we have AT&T service. We've got Verizon and a Verizon hotspot. And then I still have my Google Fi service. So we have a lot of different.
We're trying to cover all the bases.
A lot of different bases because, like today, the Verizon wasn't working for us and AT&T was. So because we have that coverage, more than one service, it means that we can be in more places and I can still do the work I have to do.
That's really smart. Yeah, I hadn't thought of. I guess I don't know much about this lifestyle, so that's a really smart approach. Most people wouldn't think of having multiple systems and redundancy like that, where you can just, wherever you're at, you've got the stronger. So obviously we don't normally need that in our normal lives, but it's critical for you, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a constant need for us.
Well, and I think if you're, doing this lifestyle, other people maybe doing a lifestyle would be able to go to a coffee shop or go to a library and still be able to, do work or create videos or whatever it is that they do to make a living. But since that wasn't an option for us, the only place we could really find was a brewery. And then that was like,
then we're spending $60 a day on beer while we're doing our work.
Really fun.
It's fun, but we actually save money by paying for all these data plans instead of going to the breweries.
And we were so less productive. We had a good time.
What a good excuse to go to the brewery that you have to work. So I have to go to the brewery.
Right. Yeah.
No one's buying that, but you keep telling that story. That's fine. You whatever.
The breweries were the only places that were, maintaining, they were really working hard to maintain this social distancing and follow all those rules because they wanted to stay open.
Yeah.
So they were actually some of the safest indoor places we went to initially. And then at some point we decided, well, we're going to spend less on another phone plan than we are going to a brewery for internet. So we changed the way we were doing things.
No, that's really interesting though. It's again, this is something I had never thought of. I actually never even thought about going to a brewery to work. But it's when you explain it like that, it's so obvious and logical. But it's I think it speaks to the overcome and adapt sort of mentality that you guys must have taken on to do this, to leave a normal life and normal as it is, in a regular house in a regular city, and move everything into this relatively small place and deal with all these sort of unknown factors, right? Let me ask you this question. Did you do any kind of dry runs, like a 2-week vacation or a month long, just to test this all out before you officially went on the road?
No, I think I did a ton of planning ahead of time.
Yeah.
There are probably maybe too much. Maybe we could have gotten started a little earlier if I wasn't, but I will say this: we've had, I think, very few serious surprises. We've had to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
Like what data plan is going to work right for us.
Right.
And for us, like water storage, we like to go out and be out in the middle of nowhere for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
And the first thing, because we have so much solar power, we never run out of electricity, but we do run out of water. So there are just kind of different things that we've found that we've started to improve. But for us, because of how much planning I'd done, there wasn't a whole lot. We haven't made a lot of changes since we left.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. If somebody's doing it, I would say, we're in a country that there's cities everywhere. You can get roadside assistance. So I think it's probably better to err on the side of hey, something might be inconvenient for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it is, you just deal with it and you make a change and then you move forward.
You mentioned roadside assistance. Is that, like AAA kind of thing? Do you have that with your van? Is that?
We do.
With our insurance.
We do with our insurance, but let me bring this is a very, very important point. So I started reaching out to these companies to say, hey, here's what we've done and we want to get, Progressive instantly dropped us from coverage. They said, oh, you modified your vehicle? Well, we don't cover that. And
Really?
Immediately they dropped us. And we've been customers for like, I don't know, just a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
They just with it.
We've never had a claim, and we're like the ideal
Right.
customers.
Wow.
And then I found out kind of after the fact, had I gotten into an accident while like I was mid conversion,
Yeah.
they would have thrown their hands up and said, I'm sorry, you violated your policy. This is not covered. So I effectively was not covered by insurance as soon as I started making modifications to the van.
Really?
So, and then it took a lot of work to find a company that actually did cover it. So if anybody's modifying a van, there are some minimums. I think they want to make sure you're not doing really crazy things to it. But we currently have auto owners insurance, and it's full-time RV insurance, and that covers the van and the trailer, and it even covers the stuff that we have in the vehicles. So
Okay.
I've got a few $1,000s of coverage on both the van and the trailer just for the contents of the vehicle. So if it's lost, we get that.
And I don't think that's common knowledge for van lifers. I've seen we watched a lot of videos, and that's never mentioned. And I think it's because people don't know. And I don't think we would have known, except that you happened to mention something to the agent and they happened to pick it up and went, wait a minute. So I think we would have gotten on the road thinking we were covered.
Right.
And a lot of people,
And I think
a lot of people do. They get on the road and they think, oh, if I just don't tell them that I've done these modifications, they won't drop me. But the problem is they'll happily take your money until you get in an accident. And then they'll go, oh, sorry, man, you are in violation of the policy, so we don't have to cover you. So you actually effectively don't have insurance.
Yeah, I'm not sure that question even came up when we were getting coverage, except that it just happened to be that connection between the agent and, but I don't think it's like they say point blank, have you made any modifications to it has to be that you bring it up and they happen to hear you and make that applicable. So
wow.
That was serious. A bit of an eye opener for us.
At one point,
maybe for other people too.
At one point, until we found that company that would cover us, I was considering going into business, like starting a business converting vans. Yeah. Because if it was a commercially created vehicle, the insurance company was okay with it. So I for a while, I thought the only path for us to get insurance was for me to create like some LLC van conversion business, say, here's one of my products, and then get it insured. But fortunately, this other path was easier than starting a business creating conversion vans. So because
that's a really good point. I think you're right, Leslie. No, who knows that? I've never heard that. In fact, as you were explaining that, I would have not asked that question either. I would have just assumed that the van is covered. And I've watched your video. And by the way, to the audience, Patrick has a wonderful video on the build of this van. It's really impressive. I'll put a link to it in the description. But I watched that, and there's no major sort of structural changes. I hesitate to say aesthetic, but you've added things in the inside, obviously, but you didn't like cut out the ceiling or anything like this. Obviously, you didn't tear apart the undercarriage or anything of this nature. So what are they worried about, right? You didn't compromise.
We did cut a hole in the ceiling.
We did cut a hole in the ceiling.
We cut a hole in the ceiling. And actually, what's
sunroof, right?
A fan.
A fan.
That's right, fan. Okay, but that's not bigger than the sunroof. And you can get a sunroof, yeah. So it's pretty small.
It scared me to do the
Sure.
That was nerve-wracking. But actually, what's actually dangerous, what's worth paying attention to is the electrical system is really highly energetic. So we could easily have a fire if the electrical is not installed right.
Well,
so from an insurance company perspective, people do all kinds of crazy stuff, and they don't know who I am. They don't know if I know anything about doing that. So it makes sense that they would shy away from that. What do they gain by going, oh yeah, he probably did an okay job. He probably won't catch his van on fire.
That's true, I guess. And I guess really from an overall standpoint, they got a lot of customers. They could lose one, whatever, right? They're not going to miss you. I mean, they say they do, but they don't, right? Most of us are just one random customer, and there are millions of people, so they don't really care. Yeah. But no, that brings up another question, though, because this whole discussion, why didn't you just get an RV versus the van? Well, sounds like it'd be simpler.
We actually considered lots of different things from like pre-built RVs to what we currently have. And it came down to, there were a few things that were important to us. And one of the things that was pretty important was stealth urban camping. Okay. So we went to Chicago and we spent a little over a week, and we didn't have to pay for a hotel room. And so it makes going to lots of places, like bigger cities, are really expensive. Actually, we were just in Bend, where the temperatures got super hot, right? We just had a heat wave in the Northwest. And we were thinking, well, with the cats, and we don't have air conditioning, we were thinking, well, maybe we should rent a hotel room for a day or two, wait out the heat. But I think the cheapest hotel room was like $340 a night. So doing this lifestyle makes us, it enables us to go to these kind of really cool places without spending a fortune. So that was important to me. Now, I've learned since then, stealth rigs are not really stealth. Anybody who pays any attention to van life, people or police, they are not fooled
notice the big solar panels.
They're not
Oh,
full
right.
from the moment. But what I want to do is to be able to show up, and in the evening, we park in a place that's parking is legal,
Mhm.
and we spend the night, and then we get up in the morning and take off. And I just want to basically go unnoticed and not bother anybody in the neighborhood.
Okay.
So
And other than the solar panels, we do look kind of like a work truck.
yeah.
Right. Now
Yeah.
tell the audience, what type of van do you have?
It's a 2016 Ford Transit T250 with
High
a
roof.
high roof, so we can stand all the way up in it.
Okay.
I could probably stand on a medium roof or even a low roof, but
To be honest. That's probably true.
I'm
But
only
I
5'.
know they do have small transit vans, like little vans. I mean,
Well, like
Yeah.
a Connect.
smaller than a minivan. So the transit is a line of vans, right? And I guess
Well,
you just have bigger and bigger.
Yeah, they have two lines. The Transit Connect is like a small minivan,
Okay.
and then the Transit is like the full-size van.
Okay.
So the Ford completely changed their line to look like these, and now this looks like a Sprinter. That what we're driving looks like a Sprinter van. So it's that Euro style high roof,
Yeah.
regular van.
Okay. So, and did you buy that brand new for this purpose? Or did you buy it? Was it already, or just an empty shell? What did you do?
We bought it used. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we bought it used. I think we went to Orlando, didn't we? Yeah, because they're kind of hard to find. But we
Oh,
bought it used in Orlando, and it was an empty shell. But we did try. I think we tried a ProMaster and a Sprinter and some other things, but I'm a pretty hard fit, and the Transit is really comfortable. It drives, like a regular car. So
okay.
and
it's a gasoline engine instead of a diesel. And I know how to work on gas engines. I don't really know a lot about diesel engines. So
Okay.
that helps my comfort level. I know diesel can be less expensive to operate, but with the maintenance that you have to do, I think maintenance is a lot more expensive. So I think they kind of balance out cost-wise.
Okay.
But that's why we went with what we did.
Okay, so I know you have it in that video that I mentioned, but just give us a general idea. What did it cost you, including the purchase of the van and all that build? Basically, what did it cost you to get you on the road?
Okay, so I think purchasing the vehicle, the base vehicles, was about 2/3 of the cost, if I remember right, and then what we put into it was an additional third. So the van was $28,000. It had about 40,000 miles on it.
Okay.
Bought the trailer new. And just that new, but it was like 3,800, I think, for the empty trailer.
Okay.
And then I think I spent a lot of money on the we have a significant investment in the electrical system, but that was important to me. I like solar. I'm interested in it. My background is electrical engineering, so it was just like playing around, and I've always wanted to do solar. So yeah, I went and put as much solar on this thing as I could fit. I mean, I didn't go completely crazy. I kind of hit the knee in the value curve. Like I put as much solar until it just started to get ridiculous to spend more.
Right. Yeah. But you said that serves your purpose, right?
Yeah, we never have to plug in.
Wow.
So we can go. Yeah, we can go anywhere. I think that the only thing, like if we're parked under trees for a few days, then we got to get out and go like bake in the sun for a little while.
Yeah.
And recharge. But yeah, it's really nice not having to plug in. And so somebody could do this with a generator too, but it's also nice not having to listen to a generator run.
Right. Yeah. So you could park, like you said, other than maybe your cell service or your internet service, you could go anywhere after you've charged up the batteries. You can drive down an old dirt road and just wherever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
No need for hookups or anything else.
Yeah, as long as we can last about as long as we have water.
Yeah.
So once our water's, then we gotta go
And
back.
you gotta
in.
go. But
Yeah.
still, how great is that?
Yeah.
It really gives you a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we were planning on going to Bend and then Eugene and then Portland before this heat wave hit.
Yeah.
But because we're mobile, we just we were going to go up in altitude, but that didn't work. So we just kept looking for options, and we were able to bug out to the coast, and it's
Nice and cool.
cool out
Yeah.
here. So that makes it easy for us to adjust for the unexpected.
The next question that beyond sort of the cost is, you're together 24 hours a day in a really confined space. Now, the pandemic has made a lot of people put in that same position, but you chose this lifestyle. Tell me about the goods and the bads. I see you could probably go either way. You obviously are still together. You look happy, I'm assuming. Tell me about that.
It can be rough sometimes.
A lot of people don't have a trailer that they're pulling behind. They just have the van. And that was sort of maybe my where I drew the line, because I was like, no, we have to be able to separate.
Yeah.
So we can do that. Like if I get mad and it's just, I'm not going to be able to talk to you right now, I can go get in the van, or I can go take a walk, or
Right.
do what I need to do to get over it. And I think that helps. I don't think we would be together if we were just in a van.
It would definitely be
hard.
challenging.
Uh-huh.
It's the easiest when we're out in the middle of nowhere, or when we're just out boondocking someplace, because we
You
can
just walk away.
we just take a walk. I mean, it's actually not much different than being at home. If we get in a fight at home, one of our best solutions was we just go take a walk.
Yeah.
Outside. So that's very similar. When we're in a city, it's a little bit more hectic, especially like Chicago. You have to keep moving.
Yeah.
You can't park in one place indefinitely. So we keep kind of hopping around, and so you're never really settled.
Yeah.
And so if we get tired of each other in a time like that,
And that's a little harder to walk away too. If you're in a sketchy neighborhood, you don't, and it's nighttime, you just, you're like, I'm really mad, but I'm not going out there.
I'm not that mad. Yeah. You have to temper your level of aggravation with your safety. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally get that. This is probably, again, something else people are going to wonder. Your family, your friends, do they think you're nuts? Are they excited about it? Are they envious? What do you get generally?
I was worried about some of our families, what some of our families' reaction would be, but I would say everybody was very either excited for us or accepting of it, or they just thought, hey, that's really cool. I'm glad you can do that.
We took a while to tell people, because we were like, oh, this is going to be such a thing, and
we
wasn't.
We were worried that we'd have somebody on our ear going like, that's a stupid idea, while we're still trying to prepare to go. I didn't want somebody telling me like how dumb I was being. I wanted to make my dumb mistake on my own. Well, yeah, and it turns out we really didn't get that. I was thinking about it. I think the worst reaction I got, which I wouldn't even say is bad, is I had a few coworkers after I let my workplace know. I had a few coworkers. I described what we were doing, and their response was like they recoil, like, oh, like I would never want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, yeah, this is not like the right thing for everybody. So if you recoil at the idea, that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
It's good to know yourself that well that you would hate it. And I think some people would hate it.
I think some people would, yeah.
Right.
But I think a lot of people, we more frequently speak to people and they go, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
And I think there's kind of a difference. There's I wish I could do it. And then I think there's another level where you go, look, I'm going to honestly look at doing this.
Right.
I mean, we play with ideas all the time. You kind of daydream about, what would it be like to be a millionaire? What it would be like to do whatever. But then, if you really start getting serious, I think it's just like at that point, just start make goals and make a concrete plan, and then just start executing, because it's easy to just let it, I don't know, just let it, like nothing happen. Just dream about it, nothing happens. So
let it stagnate. Yeah. So what would you tell people? What would be your top 3 things or so that people should think about as they sort of consider this idea?
I think there's like at least 2 different classes of people who we've seen actually living like a van life. Younger people, like early 20s or so. So probably not married and pretty free. No real probably work commitments or whatever. In that case, I'd say save money, right? There's this spectrum of you can spend more money and get more luxury, and the luxury isn't worth it compared to the amount of like exploration and all that you can do. So for people who don't have a lot of money and tie downs, that's what I'd say. Like, get the simplest thing. Don't put a lot of effort into building stuff out. Just like get on the road and start doing it.
Okay.
And you'll figure out what you need to figure out. But then then the other people I see doing it are older. There's not many in our age group, I'd say.
Yeah,
but
you're in the middle.
That are, yeah. And in that case, I think it's a lot about thinking about what's important to you, what's actually important to you, because you have to downsize. Like, we got rid of everything. If it's not in our van, we don't own it anymore. So keepsakes and, oh man.
We had a huge file cabinet just full of things.
Right.
And, we scanned it all. And so it's in a digital format. And we took pictures of our keepsakes and our, I have a few boxes at my parents' house of some of our wedding gifts that I want to get rid of. But
one final question. Do you guys plan, or have you already done this? Do you guys plan to stay just in the US, or are you going to go to Canada or into Mexico, any place else?
We would love, we actually had intended when we first left to go to Alaska and, of course, traverse through part of Canada, but the border was closed and it may still be closed. It's not clear at this point. So we abandoned our Alaska plan, but eventually I think
Canada for sure. And
we have been to Mexico. We went down for dental and vision, and then we're going to go back down on our way south. We're going to go to Rocky Point.
We plan to go to Puerto Penasco, south of like Ajo, Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, through Ajo, Arizona, you go south, and it's right on the the Gulf of California, where
between the Baja Peninsula and the mainland.
So it's right there at the apex of that. And, that's where we're going to go, and we're going to spend a couple of weeks with the rig. So we'll actually bring the rig into Mexico, but we have some stuff to learn. I think there's Mexican insurance that we probably have to buy.
This has been such a fun interview. I didn't know very much about the van life other than just casually. My daughter, she is super interested. She keeps saying she's going to buy a van, and I'm like, okay, well, just wait until I talk to Patrick and Leslie so you can watch what they went through and they can glean some information from them. Now, Patrick, you and Leslie both have or not both, but you have a channel, a YouTube channel as well, where you post videos. What's the name of your channel?
It's called Innovate Anywhere. Okay. And I've got like this, I have the build for the kind of the overall video, build video, but I've put a few that go into maybe too much depth on how to do some of the electrical design. So I'm looking at making some shorter ones that are a little bit more bite-sized and consumable.
Right.
Instead of a 20-minute like fire hose of like electrical engineering, right? So that I don't know, that's probably not very pleasant for most people, but we'll see. Do a little bit better.
If I need to know how to do it though, watching your video would at least put me in the right direction. So no, I think some people appreciate it, but you're right. Break them up, get a smaller one, get a longer one. There's an audience for everybody, right?
Right.
And if your daughter has questions, send her our contact information. We'd be happy to answer.
Yeah.
I definitely will. She's super interested. She's going to flip when she sees this. So again, thanks a lot. It's been so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
really good talking to you.
It was nice connecting back up with you, Michael.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have a good day.
You
All
too.
right, you too.
Hey, I really hope you liked that video. Why not check out some of the other great videos on this channel? And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified every time we upload a new video. Thanks a lot and keep on trekking.